Magandang araw po sa inyo. Welcome po sa isa na namang episode ng online series na Inang Pamantasan kung saan ang pagkatuto ay walang hangganan. Ito po ang PNU Talks. Ako nga po pala si Christopher Wright, isang qualitative humanities researcher at ako ang inyong learning from home buddy sa episode na ito. Ngayong araw, I'll share with you some thoughts for reflection on writing a qualitative thesis. Handa na po ba kayo? Huwag po ninyong kalimutan na i-like at i-share ang episode natin ngayong araw. With this pandemic, either you're working from home or adhering to an alternative work schedule, we must say that every day is a learning experience. The repercussions of COVID-19 pandemic went beyond our expectations. To date, it's not only the way we interact has been changed, but also the way we create meanings of the world, even our knowledge acquisition. In previous years, as graduate students, we were very confident that statistical data alone could offer us substantial and comprehensive responses to address our research problems. However, our situation now demands a more in-depth, reflective, and humane way of addressing social issues. Qualitative research seems to be the most appropriate methodological inquiry for graduate students who are interested in understanding the meaning people have constructed about their world and their life experiences amidst quarantine and social distancing measures. I believe there is a need for a timely sharing of research finding that focuses not only on epidemiological data, but also on the experiences significant to understand the shifts in social interactions, teaching and learning, and even in the social emotional aspects of our target participants. Therefore, in this talk, I'd like to help you explore the kind of researcher that you are, guide you to understand the nature of qualitative inquiry, and help you contemplate why qualitative inquiry is fitting to you as a researcher or as a graduate student, and get you familiarized with the best ways of conducting qualitative research. Before choosing qualitative as the design of your thesis, you need to ensure that you can dance with its tune to the point of owning it as yours. Qualitative is not a discipline specific. It can be employed across disciplines and can work with other designs. However, qualitative design demands a series of reflections on the nature of the method and on your paradigm. Hence, my first thought for reflection is, how are you aware of your paradigm as a researcher? Basically, the paradigm is a set of assumption and belief. According to Thomas Kuhn, an assumption is where you believe something to be true, but it is yet to be proven. Where a belief, according to Guba, is something you are certain is true. Your paradigm as a researcher matters because it informs and guides your approaches to make sense of your problem. It serves as your general principle or perspective. Your paradigm is instrumental to your understanding of the world. Therefore, some of the methodologists or researchers in the field would call paradigm as the worldview. A traditional positivist view has been adopted over the years. That is to say that when we studied the world before, it meant that you needed to be separated from that world, to be an outsider, to be an independent, to use ethic approach, and to be extremely objective in all the things that you do in your research. However, our situation now demands us to be part of that world by having direct access to the experience, to the challenges of our students, to the difficulties of our co-teachers, to your own difficulty that may be part of your study called autoethnography. thereby having a different engagement with the world. How you see the world or the things around you is important in identifying your paradigm. As a qualitative researcher, you must give considerable attention and significance to the insider perspective. This is the EMIC approach. You must be able to give significance to the inductive approach, or exploring our participants' data from below, respecting their perspectives to emerge. As I mentioned, qualitative design is not discipline specific. It can be employed to various majorships, emphasizing the importance of human experience, interaction, and culture. If you are writing a thesis for early childhood education or special education, you need to reflect and decide how your participants will engage in your research. Remember that there's a big difference between research with children and research about or on children. In other disciplines like literature and language, educational management and curriculum instruction, science, math, and social sciences, when we get to involve other qualitative data collection techniques such as interview, focus group, participants observation, and others, we need to rethink the purpose why qualitative data are considered important and to what extent that they will play in our research. The emic perspective is fundamental to our understanding or to the understanding of your participants on how they perceive the world around them, and it must be emanating from your research questions. Therefore, I made some basic samples of the questions that you may consider or think about. First, a qualitative research question begins with what, how, and not with why. For one reason, both what and how require descriptions generating characteristics of a phenomenon. The similar to the why, which is by nature is explanatory, requiring knowledge about a contingent. If you are to examine the sample question, what are the learning challenges of grade 12 students in learning Philippine literature online, you are expected to get an answers related to the challenges of the grade 12 student, which is different from the non-qualitative, which is explaining of the sort of the causal in effect as to why grade 12 students find it difficult to pass their Philippine literature. In the same manner, the idea of satisfactorily requires a more established measure as to say that one is satisfactorily or not. Hence, it's more of the positivist quantitative side. Second, a qualitative research question must be exploratory in nature. By nature, it intends merely to explore the research questions and does not intend to abruptly offer conclusive results. Comparing both questions, the non-qualitative necessitates knowledge about relations of phenomena, which grounds on positivist quantitative framework, or which is the similar to the qualitative question of what do grade 7 teachers realize as they reflect on their stories of challenges in online teaching. The qualitative question requires exploration as to the reflection of the teachers on the challenges or even on their stories. Third, a qualitative research question is not double barrel and non-directional. As you can observe with the question, it's difficult to answer a non-qualitative double barrel for a thesis because it will lead us to an issue called data glut. It's difficult to answer two questions in one sitting or in one phase of writing, which is dissimilar to how we frame the qualitative questions. Another important aspect to note when framing a question is that how your qualitative question reflects the specific qualitative strategy of inquiry. In the study of learning challenges, it may involve phenomenology as to the lived experience, case study as to the issue, and in the case of a particular group of people, while problematizing how grade 12 respond to those challenges. You may consider grounded theory to establish constructs or a theory that underscores how they have responded to the issue at hand. With the use of realization and reflection, a narrative inquiry can best provide rich and detailed account of the subject. In my example, what do grade 7 students realize as they reflect on their stories of challenges in online learning is more of the narrative inquiry, giving significant stories that must be told through your thesis or research. The next questions are fitting to phenomenology and ethnography as it deals with experience and as it deals with cultural sharing pattern no of learning culture, for example. I hope those questions helped you in thinking about possible research questions for your qualitative research. My second thought for reflection is understanding the nature of qualitative inquiry. Well, the nature means the essence of a thing, including its components and inherent characteristics. Expounding on the nature of qualitative research stems from the following concepts, such as the natural setting. Unlike the positivist quantitative, qualitative researcher, we are supposed to go to our participants' places, to where our participants are, and we don't do experiments in laboratory. Instead, we go to their natural setting. Also, as we conduct qualitative research, it is experience based and context dependent. It is also conducted inductively and using in constructivist or interpretivist approach. As we go to our participants, we are the chief instrument in both gathering and data analysis. We likewise give respect to the multiple data collection techniques in the intra paradigm, such as the use of interview, focus group, observation, photo elicitation, document analysis, and others. We give respect to our participants' multiple realities and meanings and seeing them as our co-authors who co-create the meanings of the experiences as we understood them. Equally important is our idea of the emergent design, since it allows us to consider other ways of collecting the data different from what we have planned. Since some of researchers, especially those who are well trained using the positivist paradigm, some of them accused qualitative researchers as biased. We must practice reflexivity, which is an important tool that enables us as researcher to stay engaged in critical self-awareness throughout the research process. With all these concepts and practices, our thesis is indeed an art, a holistic account, a thick description of experience of a person, a group of people in a particular context and in a particular phenomenon. My third thought for reflection is contemplating why qualitative inquiry is fitting to you as a researcher. Like what we know, qualitative research requires a rigorous process. It's not only the quality of the findings that matters alone, but also how you come up with those findings. Therefore, methodological congruence is critical for a qualitative endeavor. Your ontology or the nature of your reality must be qualitative. First, As a qualitative researcher, you must believe in multiple truths. That individual experience tells a different truth, and truth or knowledge cannot be generalized. In terms of epistemology or a way of thinking, it answers how do you know what you know? As regards axiology, on the other hand, it's the nature of value and valuation. As a qualitative researcher, we need to value all stages of our research processes. You have to have immeasurable respect to ethical considerations. What qualitative thesis expects are the following. First, commitment to an extensive time in the field. Second, engagement in the complex, time consuming process of data analysis. Third, writing of lengthy and descriptive passages. Fourth, embracing of dynamic and emergent procedures. And lastly is attending to anticipated and developing ethical issues. With these expectations, you must ask yourself, can you do qualitative thesis? My fourth thought for reflection is, what are the ways of conducting qualitative thesis, and am I prepared for conducting them? So I made some lists of data collection techniques which you may consider as you proceed to data collection. No? First is one-on-one interview. If you would like to have a more in-depth understanding of your participants' experience, you may consider that, or focus group, inviting 3, 6, 8, 9, 12 people to sitting together while throwing the same questions for everybody. So you may likewise consider observation plus field notes, no, observing all the things that are pertinent to your research problem. But of course, you need to write, no, everything that you have observed through the field notes. You may likewise consider participant observation and demographic profiling. Demographic profiling matters because this would this would give you the avenue to know more about your participants in print, because your demographic profiling would definitely talk about personal information about them, no. Six is the storytelling or the vignette. This is the use of the stories, whether this is a fiction or a true to life stories, where your participants will be required to think about some reflective ideas, or to contemplate, I should say, on these stories and how they respond to your question using the stories. You may also consider diary or journal writing. No, these two are important as to noting significant details during your data collection. You may also consider photo voice or photo based inquiry, drawing, illustration, multimedia, song, film, or reflective questions. No? A while ago, I shared to you some expectations from a thesis, no, a qualitative thesis. Now I'll discuss some possible ways on how to negotiate the limitations that you have as a researcher. First, commitment to an extensive time in the field. This is difficult at this time, given the pressing the COVID-19. So what you can do is, I believe it's not the extent of the time that matters, the longer the better, but the quality of engagement in and with our participants. So first, I would say that you need to savor the moment. You take note of everything observable. You think clearly and always reflect on the things that you gather or the things that you receive from your participant. You ask for further clarification and responses. You need to you need to give importance to the time, no? So you need to exploit the time, the opportunity that you have with your participant. You need also to confirm what you have recorded, no? This is what the member checking is requiring us. Second, engagement in the complex, time consuming process of data analysis. I believe since qualitative research is often conducted collaboratively with participants because they are the co authors of our manuscript, we need to make the data analysis more interactive and participatory. No? So, this is one thing that we need to consider, no? And think about. Third, we need to write lengthy and descriptive passages. What you can do is first make use of reflexive journal, detailing all accounts, making a thick description. One defining feature of qualitative research is the thick description. Second, you may provide a rap sheet that summarizes what has been transcribed during the data collection. So you may use a notebook or a log book like we've been using in the field, like this one. So this may serve as anthologies of your rap sheet, no, compendium of your rap sheet for your data collection. Third, you share it with your co-researcher and let them construct their understanding. Confirming, validating comes after, or member checking. Whatever you understood from the data collection, you talked about it with your participants, because in qualitative thesis writing or in research, please remember that your participants are the co-authors of your work of art, no, of your thesis. Fourth, you need to embrace dynamic and emergent procedures. What you can do is always see the process as reflective, iterative process. You always ask yourself for confirmation, for validation. You need to be critical of being self-aware of your biases, no, as a qualitative researcher. We need to be always open to change whatever the course is to accommodate the needs and demands of our study at hand. So this is like we are seeing that the qualitative design is emergent, no, that the qualitative design as a methodology is in the continuum. We're very open to a lot of possibilities. If we feel that um, interview does not suffice to get our target data from our participants, you may add some qualitative intra-paradigm data collection techniques such as observation, data document analysis, storytelling, etc. No, and it's possible. It's possible for intra-design, intra-paradigm, I should say. We need to attend to anticipated and developing ethical issues. No, first, we need to ensure confidentiality and anonymity. So we need to be open to our participants also. We need to be honest by using consent informed form. We must give our participants the right to refuse to participate and to withdraw from our study at any time that they feel that they don't like to they don't like to participate further, etc. So we need to give them the privilege, or I should say the right, to do so, no? Because we feel that we are limited as a qualitative thesis writer given our pressing time, no, with the COVID-19. I may recommend this process of using iterative data collection, analysis, and sharing of findings, which I think is very possible now, no, and more practical given this time. So during the interview, I made use of telephones, definitely. No, if my participants are not if my participants internet connection is not that strong, so I made use telephone or cell phone to call them. So during the telephone interview, I see to it that I audio record it, no? So after each interview, I fill out my rap sheet. My rap sheet is I see it as the living document of the process, no, of providing the daily summary, no. So from the rap sheet itself, I write a one-page summary table regarding the findings of the data that I gathered from the field. So every week, because I get to see my participants twice in a week. So at the end of the week, we get to talk about whatever I gathered from them. So the data analysis and data in making sense of my qualitative data, I get to involve my participants based on the rap sheets and selected transcriptions. No? So we do team meetings, and it's very helpful. Full, I would say. This is the time that it gives me the opportunity to modify my rap sheet as needed, and to incorporate some additional data from my participants. So at different stages of the process, I get to add and I get to incorporate significant data for my write up. No, so the write up itself is the research in general, the thesis in general. So you may consider this, and it's very helpful. I think this ends my lecture. Thank you for listening. For questions, clarification, you may email me at cywright@philwrights.com. I-comment po ang inyong mga katanungan at kuro-kuro tungkol sa ating episode ngayong araw. Huwag pong kalimutan na i-like at i-share ang ating episode ngayon. Sa muli, ako po si Christopher Wright at sumainyo ang PNU Talks.